Monday, November 30th. My dearest Suzie, how are you and the boys getting along? I guess they are all really looking forward to Christmas. I am off today. That is, I am so far. I was supposed to be off yesterday. So, yesterday I got up at 8 o'clock and had a nice long breakfast, taking my time about everything, figuring that I had the whole day to write to you and relax. I was off because I had flown 99 hours this month up through Saturday, and I was beat. I am the high man in the platoon on time this month. Anyway, yesterday, about 10 o'clock, the operations officer came in and told me that he had to have someone to take a real short mission, about 30 minutes. He asked me if I minded taking it, and what could I say? I was the only pilot left here. I wound up flying 4 hours of combat time, and naturally, that is the most tiring kind. So, I'm trying to stay on the ground today. I think that this month has tired me out more than anything I've ever done. I guess I've never really told you anything about the combat flying over here. In fact, I've avoided it, because I know what a worrywart you are. But yesterday, I'll tell you about. I think that you have a right to know what I'm doing, but just remember that worrying isn't going to help any. The reason I'm telling you, too, is that I was so sick from what I saw yesterday that I came in last night and got just as drunk as I could ever get, and I don't think I will ever be the same again. Since I have been over here, I have been shot at 6 times. I have landed with mortars exploding 50 feet away. I've seen dead men piled up like wood piles. I've hauled wounded men out of areas that should have been dead. And all of that hasn't bothered me too much. But yesterday morning, I flew a colonel into an outpost that had been very overrun by the Viet Cong. They were still around, and I got shot at again going in, by the way. That outpost had been burned to the ground. Every man, woman, and child there had been shot and then burned. There were dead bodies everywhere we looked. I know that I probably should not have told you about all this. I had wanted to wait until I got home and let you read my diary after it was too late to worry, but this morning I feel so rotten, and I want to tell someone how I feel, and since I've always told you my troubles before, I guess I can't stop now. There is a constant fear here in flying. Well, on the ground too. There's a Viet Cong battalion about 2 to 5 miles from us, and they take pot shots at the compound pretty often. But enough of that. I know that I'll be sorry for telling you all this later. Well, today is payday, and that is a good thing, too. I'm out of stamps, envelopes, and this is my last piece of paper. Take care of yourself and the boys. I love you all very much. All my love. Bill. I feel there isn't much I personally have to say about today's letter. The first letter. At least the first one Meemaw gave me, anyway. It's emotional, raw, and honest. It's heartbreaking and gives us a look at not just what someone like Popi was going through over there, but also what they were telling their loved ones back home and what those people had to carry with them. What did Meemaw think about after she received this letter? Did she hug their boys a little tighter that night? Did she turn on the news and hope to learn more about the war? Did she pick up a bottle herself? Growing up, I always knew that my family struggled with addiction and substance abuse. It was no secret that Popi was once an alcoholic. Until very recently, my other grandfather could also be characterized as one, though he only had a few drinks at Thanksgiving dinner because it was a holiday after all. The list could go on. That being said, I understood how destructive alcohol could be and what it could do to someone. Not just to one someone, but to everyone they loved, that watched them suffer, that saw them embarrass themselves, that were on the other end of swings of belts and fists. Because of this, I made a promise to myself when I was young that I wouldn't drink until I was 21. I know that seems arbitrary and naive, but I needed to. I wanted to know that I could, if even for the first part of my life, live without touching the things that had brought so much pain to people in my family, and still continues to today. I'm proud to say I kept that promise to myself. I certainly was challenged along the way. In high school, spending New Year's with my friends and their parents who had more liberal views on temperance. In college, going to parties where people were expected to take shots to enter and explaining, like the buzzkill I am, that I won't drink because I didn't want to be like my grandfather. Wow. That's an interesting thing to think about. Of all this time I've spent talking about him and how proud of his service I am, I was pretty vehemently against who he really was for most of his life. Figure that one out. Thankfully, my experiences as a young man weren't like the movies. No one pressured me too much. Most of the time, people were respectful and actually admired the decision. I even had one person tell me once that they figured someone in my position would be arrogant and think they could have mastery over those problems, having seen other people struggle with it and knowing the pitfalls to avoid. They said they thought it was cool I showed humility. At the end of the day, who knows if it actually taught me anything, though? Maybe people just thought I was being self-righteous. Maybe I was. Maybe I actually humbled myself when I took my first drink, proving I wasn't any better than Popi. Or anyone else for that matter. The photo I chose for today depicts who I believe to be Popi's co-pilot as they were making a bank turn above a burning village. Could this be the place he went and saw these things? Did they set them ablaze? I'm Alex Lowy, and I hope you have enjoyed listening to this episode of Dearest Suzie, and receiving messages from the past that my Popi wrote exactly 60 years ago. I sincerely appreciate your time and interest. Please consider following the podcast on your preferred platform, and if you're enjoying it, I kindly ask that you take the time to rate the show and leave a review. Also, please follow the project on YouTube, X, and Instagram. All likes, comments, shares, and reviews will help grow the reach of this story. The links for these things should be in the description of this episode. Please feel free to email me at dearestsuziepodcast@gmail.com if you have anything you'd like to say. I'd love to chat or to hear about your stories as well. Thank you for listening, and God bless.